Hello Fit Friends, I am Loza, the Baking Mad Gym Addict. Further to my previous video, I will be making 20 meals in under 2 hours today. I food prep every weekend to ensure my husband and I have a supply of healthy meals ready to eat whenever we like during the week ahead. Food prepping in advance has been helpful for my lifestyle for many reasons. 1, it saves me lots of time during the working week. 2, it saves me lots of money as it means I eat out less. 3, it cuts down the amount of pots and pans I have to wash during the week. 4, it helps me eat less junk. And 5, it helps me to maintain my weight. Cooking at home lets me have total control over the ingredients, the fat content, the calories and the size of each meal. If I buy food from a sandwich shop, a cafe or a restaurant, the food tends to be more expensive, higher in calories and is likely to contain processed ingredients. Don't get me wrong, I still have naughty foods and eat out occasionally, but because I'm eating home-cooked food the majority of the time, I can allow myself the treat every now and then. This week I am making baked yogurt chicken breasts, dill and lime flavoured fish, tuna and mushroom frittata, green veggies, brown rice, red quinoa and my favourite roasted sweet potatoes. As always, I start with the food item that takes the longest to cook. Today I start with 8 chicken breasts. I then chop up my chicken into smaller pieces. I would love to know whether you wash your chicken before cooking and why. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. Next I chop up a big handful of fresh herbs. Today I am using thyme. Pour a big pot of Greek yogurt into a bowl. The Greek yogurt is roughly 900 grams. I sprinkle about 20 grams of herbs and spices. Today I am using a spice blend which has all the spices and herbs pre-mixed together. If you don't have a pre-made spice blend, then you can make your own by combining 2 teaspoons of chopped ginger, 2 teaspoons of grated garlic, 2 teaspoons of garam marsala, 1 teaspoon of chilli powder, 1 teaspoon of ground turmeric and 1 teaspoon of cumin. Add your fresh herbs and chicken breasts and mix together. If you want it to be super organised, you can prep the chicken the night before and leave it to marinate in yogurt overnight in the fridge. Sometimes I take the yogurt chicken and store individual portions in small Ziploc bags in the fridge. This means at dinner time, all I need to do is pour the chicken out of the bag and onto a hot grill pan. Moist, tender chicken breasts will be ready in about 10 to 15 minutes. In the past, I've also stored uncooked yogurt chicken in the freezer. You just need to make sure that it has completely defrosted before you cook it. Whilst the chicken is soaking up the yogurt flavours, I turn on the oven to 200 degrees Celsius or 390 degrees Fahrenheit. I then start peeling and chopping the sweet potatoes. The potatoes are then sprayed with coconut oil and seasoned with salt, pepper and cinnamon. It should take about 45 minutes to roast. Whilst the sweet potatoes are roasting in the oven and the chicken is marinating in the fridge, I make my quinoa and brown rice. I add 1 cup of brown rice into a saucepan and rinse it really well before adding 8 cups of water. Once that reaches boiling point, I reduce the heat and let it simmer for about 25 minutes. Once the rice is cooked, I put a lid on the rice pot for about 5 minutes to make the rice fluffier. Today I am also making red quinoa. Just like the rice, I rinse it really well before adding 1 cup of quinoa to 2 cups of water in a saucepan. Once it reaches boiling point, I cover the quinoa with a lid and let it simmer for about 10 to 15 minutes until the water is absorbed. Again, for a fluffy texture, allow it to sit for 5 minutes in a covered pot after it's been cooked. Today I am going to make dill and lime flavoured fish. I sprinkle the fish in herbs, chop up 2 limes and squeeze some lime juice over it. The fish then gets sprayed with coconut oil before going into the oven. I didn't use all my dill to flavour the fish because I wanted to save some to use in my frittata later. I then start chopping up veggies. Sometimes my eyes get stingy and tearful when I chop onions, and so to avoid a dramatic crying scene in the kitchen, I put a clean slice of sweet potato in my mouth and hold it between my teeth. For some reason, this stops my eyes from getting stingy. Try it, it works. The onions then go into a pan sprayed with coconut oil and stir-fried for a couple of minutes before being set aside. I line a dish with non-stick baking sheet and gather my ingredients for the frittata. I use 2 cartons of liquid egg whites, a large tin of tuna, a tub of creamed cottage cheese, some mushrooms and some leftover dill. I pour my egg whites into a bowl. Each of these cartons is about 500 millilitres and one of them is flavoured with spinach and feta. Instead of using liquid egg whites, you can use a combination of whole eggs and milk if you like. Next, add your dill, add your tuna, Add your creamed cottage cheese, add some mushrooms, add some onions, and pour the mixture into your baking tray. The creamed cottage cheese adds extra creaminess to the frittata. You may wish to season it with salt and pepper at this stage if you wish. The frittata should be ready in about 30 minutes. You may have noticed that there's some leftover onions and mushrooms. Don't stress about this because this can go into your baked yogurt chicken later. By now, your sweet potatoes and fish should be ready to be taken out the oven. This will free up space in your oven for your baked yogurt chicken. All you have to do is pour the chicken out onto your tray. To save time having to wash another tray, I usually use the same tray as the one which has just cooked the sweet potato. At this stage, you can add your leftover mushrooms and onions from earlier. The chicken should take about 30 to 35 minutes to cook. While the chicken is in the oven, I wash and chop up my green veggies and leave them blanching for about 5 minutes in boiling water before draining them. I love to mix up my red quinoa and brown rice together. I usually make extra so that I have a supply of this in the fridge for the next few days. The excess quinoa and brown rice can be sprinkled over salads or added to stir fries. To curb my sweet tooth, I also love to freeze grapes and just munch on them during the week if ever I need a sweet snack or a healthy dessert. I simply wash the grapes and pull them off the stems and store them in a tub in the freezer. I'm addicted to eating frozen grapes because they taste like little sweet crunchy ice lollies. They are also handy for throwing into smoothies. After the chicken has been baked in the oven for about 30 to 35 minutes, test it is thoroughly cooked by snipping through a fat piece of chicken breast to check that it's not pink in the middle. You can see here that it's all white, so it's safe to eat. I love adding baked yogurt chicken to my meal prep boxes because the combination of yogurt, chicken, spices and sweet potato go really well together. Once all the food is cooked, line up your boxes and load them up with your food. If you were a serious bodybuilder or fitness model, you would obviously want to weigh your food to make sure you get the correct ratio of macronutrients and calories in each box. I personally don't get too obsessive with counting my fats, carbs and protein because I'm just a regular girl looking to stay lean and healthy with clean food. Because I have been food prepping for my husband and I for so long, I generally have a good idea of how much we will eat, so I just eyeball the measurements. I put about 3 days worth of boxes in the fridge and the rest all go into the freezer. When I run out of boxes in the fridge, I transfer them from the freezer to the fridge to defrost. I don't usually freeze the frittata, but everything else can generally be frozen. When it's time to eat the meals, I reheat them for about 3 minutes in the microwave. Sometimes I reheat them in the oven or in an electric steamer. I generally always food prep meat and fish because my preference is to eat hot food because I find it more filling. If you don't like freezing food, you may want to look up some recipes for soups or salads or curries or meatballs and simply make about 2 or 3 days meals in advance rather than food prepping for the whole week. If you're not keen on eating the same food over and over again, simply team up with some friends to form a feasible meal swapping club and swap half your meals with them. It really is amazing what a little bit of planning can do. I find that if I have my meals ready-made, ready to eat whenever I'm hungry, I am less likely to be tempted by eating naughty food. If I make sure that I eat homemade cooked food for the majority of the time, it's much easier to stay on track with my healthy eating goals. Food prepping at the weekends really makes me feel like I'm being set up for success. I've done it for about 1.5 years now and I don't really see it as a chore anymore. Cooking for 2 hours straight also gives me a chance to listen to inspiring podcasts and my favourite music, so overall it just puts me in a good mood. If you want me to make a future beginner's video about how to plan for your first ever food prep, let me know below. Thanks for watching and subscribing to me, and feel free to connect with me on Facebook or Instagram. Bye!